Welkom bij Met Nerds om tafel. We praten vandaag met...
Arnoud.
En met mij, Randal. Maar dat is even wennen, lieve luisteraars. Het is een extra opname. En je hoort niet Jur, maar Arnoud.
Ja.
Hoe kan dat, Arnoud?
Ja, ik zit hier en Jur niet.
Zo simpel kan het zijn, mensen. Nou, eerste vraag beantwoord. Nee, we hebben een speciale aflevering. Want wij werden namelijk gevraagd, niet zomaar door een bedrijf, maar door Google. En Google die vroeg aan ons, willen jullie een gastnerd interview? Die heet Robby Stein.
Mm-hmm.
Nou ga ik ervan uit dat het een Amerikaans is en het dus Stein is, Robby Stein. Maar als ik het zo als Nederland geschreven zie worden, Robby Stein.
Robby Stein, ja.
Ja. En hij is de vice president van producten binnen Google Search. Dus je hebt in de VS altijd hele mooie titels. VP, dan ben je vice president van producten binnen de categorie Google Search. Ja. Dus waarschijnlijk is het hoe langer de titel, hoe specifieker je vak. Maar het is toch een VP.
Het is een
die we
VP.
zo meteen aan de lijn hebben. En hij gaat inbellen met ons, want ze hebben iets aan te kondigen. Vandaag, op het moment dat deze aflevering uitkomt, wordt namelijk Google AI-mode naar de Benelux gebracht. Ja. Nou Arnoud, jij bent als doorgewinterde journalist waarschijnlijk al beter op de hoogte wat Google hier precies mee gaat doen.
Ja, dat denk ik wel. Het is een tabblad wat naast de gewone zoekbalk verschijnt. Of naast de gewone search. Mm-hmm. En daarin kan je dus AI voor je laten zoeken. En die gaat dan allemaal websites voor je afzoeken, zoektermen ingeven. En dat allemaal samenvatten tot één coherent antwoord. Wat hopelijk dan ook nog een beetje correct is en waar je wat aan hebt.
Precies, dus een aantal dingen waar we op in moeten zoomen is in ieder geval, hoe werkt dat dan technisch? Want ze hebben al wel verteld, nou dat werkt met een custom Gemini 2.5 model. Oftewel waarschijnlijk wat toegesplitst op snelheid en het gebruik van de hele index van de Google Search database natuurlijk. Die is huge.
Die is groot.
Die ga je niet zomaar 1, 2, 3 even door. En dat ze de vraag op de achtergrond breakdownen in heel veel subvraagjes. En dan daarvan de antwoorden weer aggregeren, zeg maar. Dus het zit technisch best wel slim in elkaar. Nou, daar vertrouw ik Google op zich nog wel mee. Ja. Maar we hebben net ook een Q&A eigenlijk. Een soort praatje bijgewoond voor journalisten. En daarin werden toch wel wat cynische vragen gesteld, vond ik ook. Ja.
Niet alleen kritisch, maar ook echt cynisch. Ja, en er komt zo heel veel journalisten van Europese media. Die hebben hun bezoekersaantallen afgelopen maanden zien dalen door de AI-overviews. Dat is net iets anders. Maar dat zijn die dingen die bovenaan je zoekresultaat verschijnen. Als Google denkt dat AI je vraag goed kan beantwoorden, dan krijg je zo'n AI-overview. En dat heeft toch kennelijk best wat gevolgen voor heel veel Europese media. Dus die hadden duidelijk in sommige gevallen wel een appeltje te schillen met mensen van Google. Dat was wel heel duidelijk.
Die vragen logen er niet om. Maar ik snap het wel, want het is ook terecht. Kijk, wat ik heel opvallend vind is Google heeft natuurlijk jarenlang bovenop de apenrots gezeten met hun zoekmachine. Maar dat was ook wel de beste zoekmachine. Er was niet echt concurrentie. Iedereen wist, als je echt iets wil vinden, dan kun je heel goed bij Google terecht. Ja. Die zoekresultaten, daar kreeg je op een gegeven moment als SEO. Websites gingen zich beter voordoen of in ieder geval rekening houden met Google, zodat ze daar hoger kwam. Daar kreeg je eigenlijk al een beetje wat ze noemen clickbait. Een beetje van die slop websites die geschreven zijn op zo'n manier dat Google ze indexeert. Later kreeg je ook nog eens dat fenomeen Google Nieuws. Dus dat ze dat nieuws dat jij soms schrijft voor je werk alvast naar die resultaten toe zouden trekken. Zodat ik hoef niet per se als bezoeker meer te klikken. Want ik zie de headline, ik zie de eerste alinea. Ik weet wel even genoeg. Ja. Dat kost al bezoekers.
En toen kwamen er ook antwoorden bovenaan het zoekresultaat. Gewoon als je feitelijke vragen stelt. Wie is de minister-president van Nederland? Dan krijg je een antwoord.
Wikipedia-achtige resultaten kreeg je dan. Maar nu vind ik het wel bijzonder, want ze hadden die AI-overview. Nou, die snapte ik ook nog net wel. Daar dacht ik als gebruiker, oké, ik begin steeds meer dingen in ChatGPT in te typen. Ja. Dus als ik het nu in Google intyp en daar komt ook al een soort ChatGPT-achtig samengevat antwoord, dan begrijp ik als gebruiker dat ik dit wil. Ja. Dus het is lastig voor mij om te begrijpen wat AI-mode zit daar dan weer tussenin. Zeg maar. Je kunt naar het full-blown Google Gemini gaan en dan kun je een heel prompt schrijven met een nog diepgaander onderzoek dan je hier al kan doen. Ja. Maar dan moet je een beetje weten wat je doet. Ja. En mensen gaan daar niet echt heen als bestemming. Nee. Maar je hebt volgens die Google zoekresultaten die, we kregen net tijdens die presentatie te horen dat eigenlijk mensen sinds dat AI-mode werkt, want het werkt al in de VS, het komt vandaag dan naar Nederland en de Benelux en meer landen in de EU. En dat je mensen dan 2 tot 3 keer langere vragen in typen. Ja. Althans, dat ziet Google dus. Ik vind het wel interessant.
Ja,
dus een soort tussenvorm.
Ik vind het ook wel logisch ook wel.
Ik merk het aan mezelf ook. Als ik wat ik al zei, als ik gewoon in ChatGPT zit of in Gemini, het grote model, dan begin ik heel specifiek te prompten. Ik heb mezelf dat een beetje aangeleerd. Van ik wil ongeveer dit resultaat. Ik wil dat je ongeveer zo te werk gaat. Maar dat AI-mode is dus eigenlijk de tussenvorm tussen zoeken op het web en zelf je hele lange prompt schrijven.
Ja.
Zo interpreteer ik het eigenlijk.
Ja, en het is sowieso wel een strategie van al die bedrijven, ook van Google, om AI op zoveel mogelijk plekken aan te bieden en dan maar te kijken waar het werkt, waar mensen het echt gaan gebruiken.
Voordat de concurrent het doet ook.
Voordat de concurrent het doet, ja.
Er zijn 2 dingen waar ik zo meteen in het gesprek op wil gaan letten. Het ene is AI-modellen hallucineren soms.
Ja.
Daar zullen ze iets op moeten vinden. Dat zijn ze ook druk mee bezig.
Ja.
Het andere is, ze zetten natuurlijk het verdienmodel van nieuwssites onder druk.
Niet alleen nieuwsites, maar eigenlijk alle sites.
Alle sites,
ja.
Maar ook dat van zichzelf. Want bij zoekresultaten ben je gewend, daar staan advertenties boven, op, onder, links en rechts. Maar bij AI-mode is het ook nog maar de vraag of er advertenties komen en hoe dat er dan uit zal gaan zien. Dat zijn dingen waar ik zo meteen wel naar ga vragen.
Ja, dat lijkt me een heel goede vraag. En we hebben nog veel meer vragen.
We hebben nog veel meer vragen en we hebben niet veel tijd. Daarom hebben we dit praatje alvast van tevoren. Dan kun jij als luisteraar zo meteen gaan genieten van ons gesprek met Robby Stein of Robby Stein. Misschien is dat een goede opening. Hoe spreek ik die naam uit? So, Robby, thanks for joining us all the way from the United States, I believe.
Yes, thanks for having me.
We already told our listeners that you have a really Dutch-sounding last name. So we called you Robby Stein just now, but if I'm not mistaken, you should be Robby Stein.
You got it. Nailed it.
Well, thanks for joining us. First of all, we've just seen an introduction to AI mode from Google. Can you quickly summarize for us what AI mode is and what our listeners can do with it?
Yeah. So AI mode's a new way to ask questions of Google and really ask anything top of mind and get an AI-powered response with the ability to ask follow-up questions and have a natural conversation. And AI mode's designed to understand Google's knowledge and real-time information that comes into Google through everything from finance, sports, places, shopping, and also the context and understanding of the web in order to construct these responses to be as helpful as possible. And that's now this week rolling out to much of the rest of the world, including almost everywhere in Europe. There's about 38 new languages and 50 new countries and territories.
Yeah, so it's actually different from doing an actual Google search because we were familiar with the AI overview feature already.
Yeah, it's different than a traditional Google search. But what does happen is when you ask AI mode a question, it actually thinks of Google queries to run. And as a tool, will issue maybe a dozen, maybe 24, maybe more questions and Google searches under the hood. And then each of those pulls information in that can be used to construct this response. And so this is really a frontier model and technology for state-of-the-art search questions, but is being integrated and is available in the core experiences as well. So what people will see is that AI overviews really is this kind of quick overview at the top of the search page. If you click underneath it, there's an opportunity to go for deeper into AI mode, and then you can have follow-up questions and go back and forth there. You can also go right to AI mode by clicking on the tab that shows up in the search page or one of the shortcut buttons in the apps across the Google system.
So is there a specific way that you think about these kinds of new features? Because from my point of view, I've been using ChatGPT for a couple of years now, and Gemini can do the same, is where I type in a pretty long prompt. I'm telling it what I want to search for, how it should go about it, and then actually how I want the information to be presented to me. But this seems to me like a dressed down version of that in terms of making it more accessible and easier to use for more people. Or do you think of this like an enhanced form of your normal everyday Google search query? Because you could see it as a bit of both of those things.
Yeah. I mean, our goal is for you to be able to just ask whatever's on your mind right into the Google search box. And so if you wanted to write, 4 or 5 sentences, I'm going on a trip and I have these friends and one of them has an allergy and one has a kid, what's an accessible thing that we could all go to? You could put all that into Google. Mm-hmm. And so in the same way that people expect to talk to AI, you can talk to Google that way. And that's a key goal. But also it's what we've seen is through AI overviews, people are asking these kinds of questions with increasing complexity. Mm-hmm. And now with AI mode, you can go deeper and have this back and forth. Because many of the hardest questions, they kind of require this back and forth where you're planning, you're trying to make a hard decision, you're trying to get advice, you're trying to deal with something, you're troubleshooting an issue, and then you're like, oh, that didn't work. This other thing, I see this thing, this light show up now on my device. And then you want the AI to keep going with you. That's all now possible with AI mode.
And sorry.
Yeah, how do you see people in the US which already can use AI mode? How do you see them using AI mode? What are the differences between European and American users now because they have AI mode?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is that people are asking increasingly longer and more complicated questions in Google. And so in AI mode, we're seeing it could be 3-4 times the query the word count length, query length, because people are asking these more natural language, very specific questions with increasing intensity. And so I think that's the main one. And then also people, because AI mode allows for follow-ups, we're seeing a larger percentage of people that are actually having a back and forth with Google now, which is a different way to use search. But it's still, relative to other AI out there in the world, hopefully the most informative, most knowledgeable AI that's out there, because it's plugged into all of Google's kind of knowledge and context of the web. And so it's really designed for informational tasks versus maybe the more creative things that are like, hey, design me a new flyer for my business. Like, we're not focused on that use case. We're really focused on these informational needs that people use in Google. It's shopping, planning, travel, restaurants, understanding hard concepts or learning, educational questions. These are all things that people come to Google every day. And we see in AI overviews, people trying to actually get even more complexity and deeper questions out of Google. And now this hopefully allows an opportunity to do that.
But is it already possible to dive straight into AI mode? Because I think if you start putting in a query on the actual front page of Google, then I still have to make one more click and activate AI mode, isn't it?
Yes.
Is that
so we
right?
are seeing, you can go right to AI mode.
Okay.
You'll be able to go to google.com/AI. You also, there's shortcut buttons in the mobile apps on Android. Chrome recently, there's an easy way to just there's a new release we did where in Chrome you can just start typing your query in the Omni box in the main search box, and then there's a little button that takes you right to AI mode if you're interested in that. And what we are seeing is power users, people who understand how these systems work more, that they are enjoying the ability to just go right to AI mode for many of these hard questions that they have.
Is this the future of search?
It's really a companion. I think, if you think about search needs, I think what people don't appreciate as much, and I certainly didn't until spending much more time, working on search, is there's just an enormous degree of diversity and complexity in how people use the product every day. So it's everyone who needs to pay taxes and find a specific form, to they're trying to start a business and they want to look up a specific rule, and to someone who's trying to go to just a restaurant page to get their latest menu. It's like, and in many of these cases, actually, AI is not particularly helpful. And in fact, it's slower to do the same. If you want to look up a stock price, you just put the stock in, and in milliseconds, you get instantaneous information. And you could do it with your AI technically, and then the AI is thinking, working, looking it up. And then much later, you get the same exact information. It's actually the reason AI overviews does not show up for a lot of pages, because the system has learned this is not actually helpful in many contexts. But what we find is that for the really hard questions, hey, compare these two stock prices over time and what the trends have been and what are the main launches that each company has had over the last 6 months. Now that's a question that's great for AI. And you can put that right into search, right into AI mode, and get really helpful information now.
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, I'm actually quite getting the hang of the way I have to construct a prompt for an AI to do exactly what I want, but I'm expecting AI mode from Google to be a bit more entry level, capable of understanding what I'm looking for. Can you tell us how you trained, because there's a custom Gemini 2.5 model involved in AI mode, I believe. What kind of stuff did you have to teach that model to be better at understanding my query and breaking it up into different kind of searches?
Yeah. So the first thing is you can actually ask anything. So if you wanted to ask one of the really long questions where you say, hey, make a table comparing these beds with softness, price, and what, you could do that. But for many people across the world, like they may actually have no idea how to do that. They're just trying to compare, which bed should I buy? And then we want the model to be able to give that table, right? Like we think that's a particularly helpful thing for someone. And so there's a few things we've done, I think, uniquely with this model. It's based on the foundation of Gemini models, but it is custom to search, as you said. And I think one thing is that it's really understands how to use Google search as a tool. So when you ask a question, it's actually initiating under the hood like a bunch of we call it fan out queries, fan out technique. So it'll, if you're looking for restaurants outside for your friends, like that example where you're booking some trip, it might break that up into dozens of other questions that it's starting to Google search basically. And then it's going to bring back everything from local information that could show up in Google directly to websites, reviews, all kinds of things that come back to the model. And now the model has to construct a response that's extra helpful. And so it'll try to back up what it says and provide links and opportunities to show its work in that process as well. And that's something else that's, I think, unique to what we do. Particularly for, obviously people come to Google to connect to the web, to see information directly and to go verify, see diversity of perspectives, all of that. That's super important to users in our design principle. So you'll always be able to kind of click on websites, go deeper, see information for yourself out of this experience too. And that's something, so this model's been trained to link to external websites and to insert other content where it thinks that will be helpful for you.
And how do you manage hallucinations? Because AI models tend to hallucinate. And how do I, as a user, know if the information presented to me is correct or not?
Yeah. I mean, in general, AI is a new technology, and with new technologies, it takes time to mature. And like all AI makes mistakes, and this is no difference. No different. I think what we see is that the propensity to make what we call like a violating mistake that actually is like a problem in our minds is very small. Overall, it's like 1 in millions kind of level of small, but it does come up. And I do think that good news is because it's a model and an AI system from Google Search, it's built on top of all of these quality systems and signals that have been existing for like 20 plus years. So for example, if there's a website out there that has weird information that people don't trust, or through the process of Googling, we have this signal that maybe that's even a spam website that's trying to get traffic in ways that's weird and misleading. Like we have information about that web page. And so that information presumably wouldn't be used in the context of this AI response. It also has access to Google's real-time info. So it looks up stock quotes, for instance, from Google Finance. So if you ask it to compare stocks, it's doing a tool call to find this high quality live info feed of stocks. Same for products, locations. So all of those things hopefully make the model as high quality as possible there. Although of course you make mistakes. And then on the construction of the response, the model's been through the kind of reinforcement learning and other techniques. It really tries to back up its work, and for particularly sensitive categories. So for example, health is one. And you will see it potentially even take longer, answer differently or provide replies differently in those kinds of sensitive categories too. So those are all things that we do to make sure that you get the highest quality response possible given the question. This is a continuous effort to continue to make better and better every day.
Yes, and there's a lot of reaction to AI overviews from, I don't know if it's in the rest of the world, but in Europe. And those websites report lower traffic because of AI overviews in the recent months. And they're afraid AI mode will make it worse. What do you say to them?
Yeah, I'd say in general, the first thing to understand about Google is that there are billions and billions of clicks sent out to the web every single day for all the questions that I've been talking about earlier. And we're not seeing that change. And there's really like this kind of long-term stability in that kind of system. Clearly, people's preferences have been evolving over time. The kinds of sites they seek out, all of that is a part of it. But what we've seen is that AI is largely expansionary. So people are asking new questions. There's growth. There's new kinds of things you can get out of Google, and because of things like the query fan out technique, hopefully there's more opportunities long term for websites to rank and show up in the way that AI presents the response. I mentioned that the AI has been taught to link out to websites to provide, like, let's say you're trying to compare all of these things. And that's a hard question to ask in Google today. That would be a net new thing now for Google. Then there's all of these opportunities to then go deeper, read a review, see what this person said, see what this other website said. They actually wrote about 2 of the 4 products that you're talking about. Maybe it's not all on one web page, but part of it is, right? Like you can now get that kind of access to the information. So I think that's kind of the long-term belief, is that AI should be a very powerful discovery engine, because you can ask literally anything. You potentially have all this growth. Like we're seeing 70% increase year over year in searches that have visual. So they're using camera, for example, to ask questions about, took a picture of your shoes. I want more shoes like this. Take a picture of a plant. How do I care for this plant? It's dying. These are all new questions. So every new question is an opportunity for growth. And I think long term, that's the opportunity. And I think the other thing that we're observing is people's behavior is just changing. And so people expect, because of all of the AI that's out there, to get some context up front and then to go deeper. And by doing that, we're finding they're actually staying on web pages longer. They're better customers of those web pages and websites because they have more information. Versus, sure, maybe like you could get a click and bounce around, but it's not really like a high quality click in any way. And so we're really trying to focus on sending really high quality people to various websites as they need them.
Yeah. So what I see a lot around me is that people are very used to computers being a source of truth. So they use a database to store information, then they get that information back, and it's very factual, it's very accurate every single time. But now in the time of large language models, they are more in the business of predicting what the answer could be and not actually checking it for factual correctness. It seems to me that with AI mode, you're trying to do a bit of both. So you're trying to cross the bridge between a large language model that's very good at predicting how the answer should look, but then actually checking the factual information on the back end also, but still using websites to do so. So information that's out there on the web. And I think there could be like a very challenging case if there's information out there that's not rooted in reality, that's not factual, and having to balance counter positions that are also found to be found on the web. Do you think there's still a way to go, or are these large language models already very capable of showing me these diverging, maybe these are opinions or factual analyses?
Yeah, I think there's a really interesting kind of opportunity, I think, with AI, which is one, because Google has all of these, Google search has existed for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Many questions, we have factuality measures. We study this closely, and we try to provide the highest quality models for a given question. I think one of the things that you see is there's certain things that are more obvious, like is a price of a certain product correct, right? You could look up that price, you could go to that website, you could see if it's right or not. There's other kinds of questions where it's not as obvious, actually, what is factual, right, in many cases. Mm-hmm. And Google's never been in the position of trying to be actually a single source of truth. Actually, the view is that there's an opportunity to connect you to information, and that users need to ultimately have access to the best high quality information and a diversity of viewpoints, and then they actually need to make the decision on what's correct and what's factual. And the way you do that is through what Google search offers you. So when you search for certain things, the top websites are the ones that end up being the most trusted, relied upon, highest quality pieces of information for a given question. And that's encoded in the model's understanding of information. And so that I think allows Google search and this AI experience to connect you to the information that people have in the past relied on for a given question, versus trying to like out of nowhere reason about it from first principles, which may or may not be the right approach given the question. But it's a really nuanced space. It's something we take really seriously, and the opportunity, I think, is for the model to do a good job in saying, hey, here's where this information came from, right? Like I think when you see something from let's say when a business closes in a day, it'll actually link to the Google page if that local business has a Google page and they keep their hours updated. You could go click on that, go to the Google. Like what'll happen is the Google Place experience will come out, and you'll actually see that information yourself. And you're like, okay, great. If I drive over there, the place is going to be open, right? Like that's like a factuality question that needs to be critical. And in other cases, it's not clear what a fact is. And it's basically, here's what people have said about this question, and here's links to go read about it. And you have to kind of think about what you want to believe in a specific area.
And there's another topic I want to discuss as well, because a lot of people are worried about the environmental impact of AI. And now you're converting a lot of regular Google searches maybe to AI with AI overviews, and now with AI mode even more. But Google is also a very environmental conscious company. It's always talking about its carbon footprint and reducing that.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you combine these two? Because it takes a lot more energy to answer a question with AI, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the key is efficiency. And I think what's interesting is, well, one, even if you look at it just from the user perspective, I think I mentioned before, it's actually not helpful to use AI to answer a very large class of questions that people ask billions of times a day. It's like you could run all of these questions around, like, even the closing time I mentioned, like what time a store closes, let's say, before you're about to go. You could have AI reason, go look all of that up and go figure that out. But actually it would take like a while versus like in milliseconds that's available to users. And so I think what you want to do is unlock increasing capacity as the user needs it. And that's actually in the best interest of the user, because you're going to give the fastest, most efficient information for a given question. And I think that's why you don't see AI on every single page at Google, right? Like you see it where it adds marginal value to a question, and where there's an opportunity for the user to click in to go deeper because they've effectively voted and said, hey, there's not enough information here for me. I need more. And they could actually go deeper into AI mode and start asking these follow-up questions and going back and forth because they're not finding what they want. And so hopefully there's some efficiency there. And I think with the most efficient setup, that's obviously best for everyone. It's best for the user. It's best for the use of, machine use and all of that stuff. And obviously, as a company, Google cares deeply about this question, and I think has issued many reports on this topic that I'd probably refer you to the experts on that particular question. But I think that from a user and product perspective, there's a lot of alignment there in efficiency and in only providing kind of like using AI for incremental value.
So am I correct that AI mode is somewhere in between the paid Gemini models and the usage of those models and Google Search, which has always been free. But now AI mode also seems to be free for everybody, not only paid subscribers of the Gemini services. So what's the monetization of AI mode going to be?
Yeah, AI mode is free. And like Google Search, it's a core part of Google Search. And information, we think, it needs to be available to everyone at any moment they need it, all over the world, every country, every language. That's the approach. And it's a big part of this rollout actually this week, is becoming available and accessible to anyone in dozens more languages and dozens more countries and territories. So that's not changing. I think that what you'll see is a few things. One is we have announced that we're starting to run experiments with ads in AI. I think there's an opportunity for ads to be uniquely helpful given the context increase we see in AI surfaces. So when people ask a question, they typically add more information. So instead of just saying restaurants Nashville, they might say something like a restaurant in Nashville with someone with a shellfish allergy that's okay for dogs. And like I've someone on our team who like has a dog, and a very key aspect of where they eat is like where you can like sit outside with your dog.
Sure.
And so like you can do all of that now and think about now the opportunity to connect people to information, to sponsor information. So these are these experiments. This is very early, but I think there's some experiments happening there. And I think that's going to be something that will be important over a longer period of time. But hopefully my view is that this is net valuable. Like if you're shopping, you want to know about the best deals. You want to know about the best restaurants, places to go. You want to know about offers for, products, services, and things you need for your family. And so when you can connect those really closely to your need, it's win-win. And that's probably going to be, an important piece of this.
Will AI generate ads?
I think we're in an experimental phase where, by the way, already today AI generates ads. You consider them.
Sure.
A lot of people are building They provide components of their assets and creatives into Google's ad systems, and there's different permutations of the ads that get created and tried on users, and through that learning that already happens at scale. And I think that you will see more of that over time. But I think in the same way that for a user, you want to give control, you want there to ultimately be transparency in what the system's doing. Obviously there's similar questions with advertisers and users too. But I would say that those are, we're with this launch and with others and the ones I obviously focus on, really focused on getting the consumer product right here and really just unlocking this opportunity to do a lot more in Google search. And really, if we can do that, I think there's a lot of opportunity down the road to give users the full value of Google.
But I mean, like, if in a few years, if I want an answer from AI mode and I'm looking for a dog-friendly restaurant and it says like, yeah, before I tell you, I have to tell you about this new dog food, which is awesome. Will that happen?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that from first principles, like, the best products are going to be the ones that most efficiently get you what you need. And if you're not doing that, you're not going to be serving the user. You're not going to, I think, delight the person and have them be the product of choice for that thing. But I think what you see in Google today is you get that information, but then you also might see, a special happy hour offer at a dog-friendly bar, this Friday. You're like, oh, that's awesome. I'm going to go do that. I wouldn't have thought of that place. And maybe that place wouldn't have come up in your search because you weren't asking about bars or, happy hours. You're asking about, like brunches or restaurants or something, but it had some kind of related thing. And I think that's going to be actually really helpful for people.
So what I'm taking away from this conversation is that probably advertising is going to be some part of AI mode. You're already testing that out in the States, but we're probably not seeing that right now in Europe. But one thing that still puzzles me a bit, if I were to upgrade to a paid Gemini subscription, I'm used to using the deep research features, for example. Will I, is it plausible that I'm going to use AI mode and doing prompts that would be best suited for like a deep research prompt in the paid Gemini versions, that it's going to tell me to upgrade to those paid subscriptions?
Yeah, so if you're an AI subscriber, actually, there's a similarity with search where there's advanced features available to subscribers. One of those is actually deep search, which is built on top of Google search that uses all of the search signals, information, web understanding that I just mentioned to build you more. It spends more time thinking, reasoning, doing multi-step reasoning, and then constructing a longer response.
Which is really expensive to do on your side.
So that is a subscriber feature and is an example of similarity there. So I do think what you will see is subscribers getting access to maybe the most advanced tools and probably maybe the first access to some of these that do have various constraints. And then as those constraints get released or there's other innovation that happens, more and more people can use them over time.
Okay, so I want to be mindful of your time, which you've been very generous with. Last question that I still have is, you mentioned that the search feature with AI mode could be like a conversational partner, like you're going deeper and deeper into your subject. You've been using AI mode. Has it ever really surprised you in the answers or the conversations that you've had? And do you have an example for us? Perhaps.
Yeah. It surprises me all the time. I mean, 'cause especially the more that the model is using reasoning and understanding all of the different information at Google, the more that I'm like impressed with what it does. So for example, I was actually looking at some beds related stuff, actually, like pillows and bedding things. And I just asked a pretty basic question around some pillows I was looking at. And pillows can be pretty expensive. So you kind of want to research that. And it automatically, I just asked about a specific brand, but it automatically constructed a table across all the products that brand offered with different, it had different prices, how the pillow was constructed, the sizing was like all easily put into this experience for me. And I didn't even need to ask a really complicated question in order for it to do that. Just kind of learned it. Another example is we actually last week are starting to roll out in the US a visual version of AI mode that allows you to AI mode to use visual responses. So it's not limited in using text. And one of the really cool things is if the AI can learn what's the format that best meets the person's expectation. Like let's say you're looking for shoes. Pretty weird for the model to like describe shoes to you in text.
Yeah, sure.
You know? It's like you need to like see, you kind of want to see a grid of products and like browse it, right? And like the model now intuitively is starting to understand, oh, like even though I asked a specific question where I was asking about, I think it was a shopping related question, and it constructed this like whole shopping experience for me with a grid of products that I could just like scroll through instead of it being like a bulleted list of text that you usually get. And so I think what you're seeing is like the model will be increasingly more heterogeneous in how it replies to you. And if you're shopping, it'll like be like, oh, okay, I get it. The user's trying to buy this thing. And like, let's say you're looking for lighting in your house or a couch. You need to like enter a different modality. It's like, you don't want to like describe all these things. So you're going to give like these visual things. And I think that's been really delightful to know how the model is reasoning almost like a person would in thinking about, you know, what I should see to best respond to the question.
Okay, Robby, thanks for your time and thanks for telling us well, everything we need to know to start using AI mode from today on forward, because all our listeners can actually try that feature out right now. So thanks a lot.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Robby Stein.
Stien.
Wat vond jij ervan?
Ik heb dit soort mensen vaker gesproken. En het is altijd, je stelt een vraag, er komt een antwoord. En die heeft dan niet alles te maken met de vraag die je stelt. Dus dan denk je achteraf, heb ik antwoord gehad? Ja, maar ook nee.
Ja, ik vond hem zeg maar ergens in het midden van een soort marketingfiguur dat zeg maar het gemedia-trainde antwoord geeft. En ook wel iemand die betrokken is bij het product, dus dat ook wel daadwerkelijk uit kan leggen. Dus ik moet zeggen, hij zat daar, vind ik, wel wat aan de productkennende kant.
Zeker. Hij wist waar hij het over had.
Precies. Ik vond het ook heel leuk dat hij wel betrokken was en had ook zoiets van, nou oké, ik kan wat met die vragen. Ik ben wel heel benieuwd hoor, want we raakten precies de gevoelige punten. Zo, hoe gaan ze monetizen? Hoe gaan ze je geld aan verdienen?
Ja.
Google zit natuurlijk al decennia op een machine die geld print alsof het niet op kan.
Ja.
En ze waren onmiskenbaar jarenlang de beste zoekmachine op aarde.
Ja.
Nou kun je zeggen, nou, er zijn wel machines die in de buurt komen. Ja, ik zou zeggen, nee, Google is toch wel stevig de beste. In het AI-tijdperk beginnen ze niet met een dusdanige voorsprong.
Nee.
Zelfs als Gemini een frontier model is dat zich kan meten met de ChatGPT's en de alternatieven in de markt, hebben ze nog steeds geen dikke voorsprong.
Klopt.
En de manier waarop ze die zoekmachine die ze hebben en die database van websites nu proberen te combineren om dat een beetje in hun voordeel te leveragen. En laten we eerlijk zijn, het gaat hier vooral om toegang. Hè? Mensen komen al op Google. Ze worden al geconfronteerd met die knop AI mode. Dat tabblad staat boven in beeld.
Ja.
Dit is het enige oneerlijke voordeel dat ze nog hebben. Maar ik zie niet hoe dit product de facto het beste hoeft te zijn.
Dat hoeft helemaal niet. Nee.
En ja, ik hou mijn hart vast hoe dit uit gaat pakken. Want zij weten nog niet precies hoe ze geld gaan verdienen. Wij als gebruiker weten nog niet precies hoe betrouwbaar het gaat zijn.
Ja.
En er zijn heel veel dingen die nog moeten blijken. En Google heeft op dit moment een beetje, vind ik, ze werden gewoon op meerdere paarden.
Ja, klopt.
Dat is wat ze aan het doen zijn.
Zolang ze nog moeten vechten, winnen wij. Maar zodra er weer één partij, zoals in zoeken gebeurde, de beste blijkt te zijn, iedereen gaat daarheen. Dus die heeft een marktaandeel van 90+%. Ja, dan kunnen ze het product weer minder maken en overal advertenties instoppen en je hele scherm vullen met allemaal dingen die zij willen, in plaats van jou het beste antwoord te geven. Dus in deze fase had hij helemaal gelijk. Nu moeten ze wel het beste antwoord proberen te geven wat ze kunnen geven. Want ze vechten nu nog heel duidelijk met bijvoorbeeld ChatGPT en Claude en al die andere AI-modellen. Dat zit er nog achter. Die concurrentiestrijd is gaande. En dat is wel heel belangrijk voor ze, want de zoekmachine duurt niet eeuwig. Dit soort dingen gaan het grotendeels overnemen waarschijnlijk in de komende 10 jaar. En ze moeten die strijd wel winnen om een positie te behouden. En ja, tot die tijd kunnen ze dus niet al te veel geld gaan verdienen daarmee. Dan moeten ze gewoon wat rustiger aandoen met de advertenties en zo. Maar zodra die strijd gestreden is, dan krijgen we gewoon weer al die ads in ons gezicht geduwd.
Nou, en dat andere punt...
Je hoeft alleen maar naar YouTube te kijken om te weten wat ik bedoel.
Ja, precies. Nee, als je een keer monopolist bent... tegelijkertijd, wat jij ook al zei... bij websites die het moeten hebben... ook van advertentieinkomsten... maar ook zeker van verkeer uit Google... houden ons hart vast... komt er straks nog genoeg verkeer? Want ik denk in de ultieme vorm waarin AI-mode perfect werkt... en ik het eigenlijk alleen maar gebruik... en al mijn informatie daar vandaan haal... kom ik niet meer op tweakers. Waarom zou ik? Dus voor mij als gebruiker alleen maar irritant om op tweakers te komen. Ja. Tegelijkertijd... op het moment dat tweakers geen geld meer verdient...
Je gebruikt tweakers, maar dat is daadwerkelijk niet zo'n heel goed voorbeeld. Want heel veel van ons verkeer is direct, omdat het een community is. Dus dat scheelt nogal. Wij voelen die impact echt veel minder dan heel veel andere mediasites.
Maar laten we een andere site als voorbeeld nemen... die wel echt van die advertentieinkomsten moet leven... en het leeuwendeel van het bezoek komt uit Google. Op het moment dat die stroom opdroogt... kunnen ze natuurlijk ook hun medewerkers niet meer betalen. Het stroomt aan de kant van Google... juist de stroom van verse, betrouwbare informatie.
Exact.
En ik zie wel hoe dit met een grote omweg misschien... maar uiteindelijk op de lange termijn wel zorgt... dat die informatie alsnog minder betrouwbaar wordt.
Ja, dat denk ik ook. En dat kan je dan grotendeels... en dat zie je bij dat soort sites ook gebeuren... is niet alleen media, maar ook hele andere takken van sport. Dat ze proberen zoveel mogelijk met AI te doen. Maar dat is gewoon allemaal van lagere kwaliteit. En dat beïnvloedt gewoon op termijn de informatie die ook zo'n AI-mode of überhaupt de Google zoekmachine kan geven. En die klachten zijn er al legio over het hele internet. Dat eigenlijk de hele Google zoekmachine inferieur is geworden. En dit zal het allemaal uiteindelijk dan niet beter maken. Deze hele dynamiek is een soort van neerwaartse spiraal voor de kwaliteit van content op het internet.
Ja, al zie ik wel hoe het zeg maar, op de korte termijn beter in staat zou kunnen zijn om de kwaliteit van die informatie ook echt te keuren. Ik zie wel hoe ik die hier...
Ja, alleen je hebt geen reden meer om het te maken met heel veel mensen en heel veel investeringen, want je verdient het niet terug. Dus als je het verdienmodel van dit internet breekt, dan heb je gewoon een probleem als zoekmachine uiteindelijk.
Ik vond het wel leuk om een keer weer in het Engels te podcast. Ik merkte wel aan mezelf, ik moet weer even omschakelen. Ik had op een gegeven moment zo'n iets te lange wollige vraag, zoals ik wel vaker doe. Maar in het Nederlands red ik me daar dan vaak nog wel iets vakkundiger uit dan nu. En nu dacht ik echt, kut.
Ik dacht ook, waar gaat hij heen?
Ja, ik werd per ongeluk te wollig. En maar dan ben je halverwege zo'n zin. En in het Nederlands bluff ik een zin en dan halverwege bereik ik hem wel recht.
Ja,
ik nu meer
om heel eerlijk te zijn, jij dacht denk ik dat ik een vraag zou stellen en ik keek heel nadrukkelijk jou aan, waardoor jij begon. Dus het was een beetje geïmproviseerd daar. Maar
ja, ik probeerde een tegenstelling te schetsen en dan in het midden uit te komen. Maar ik bracht het vliegtuig uiteindelijk wel thuis.
Zeker, hij kwam aan de grond, maar dat duurde even.
Nou, lieve luisteraar, dit is een iets andere aflevering dan jullie gewend zijn. Dus ik ga alsnog zeggen, tot zover deze aflevering van Met Nerds om tafel. Maar er komt ook nog een doodnormale aflevering aan deze week. Dus voor nu is dit even een leuke extra. Ik heb er wat van geleerd, in ieder geval lol in gehad. Wij zijn blijkbaar de enige Nederlandse podcast die een dergelijke persoon bij Google mocht interviewen. En ik vond dat leuk om te doen.
Dat is zeker leuk.
Bedankt voor je hulp, Arnoud.
Graag gedaan.
En tot volgende aflevering.